I kicked away for a minute. Sour Patch.
It's good, dude.
I gotta try it. Alright, 8 o'clock. Take a sip of this and we'll roll. Oh yeah, that is good. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Talk is Cheap. I'm Zach Cooper, my co-host Brent Johansson. Today we'll be going over your questions and going over the picks for week 3. Alright, first question of the day is, should we be concerned with Drew Brees' performance against Las Vegas, or was it just an off night? I'll start off with this one. I don't think you should be concerned with him. I think he looked a lot worse in week 1 than he looked Monday night. I watched the whole game. His completion percentage was high. He had one bad pick, and he had no power. I mean, he lost his arm strength in like 3 years ago, like 2017. So he hasn't been able to bomb the ball in a minute yet. So I didn't see really anything too concerning. The pick was a bad throw, but I'm just going to chalk that up as a bad throw. If he had another game like week 1, I would definitely say concerned. I'm not saying don't be concerned. I would like to see another game from him first because I just don't think he was that bad on Monday. Week 1 was atrocious, though. He played bad. So I would pump the brakes on it right now. I'm not saying he's not washed up, but I think we should give it another game or so. He looked like he's looked the past 2 years. If you go back and watch any of the games that he's played the past 2 years, it's the same Drew Brees. He'll throw wide open middle passes, middle of the field passes, but other than that, he's going to check down and stuff. And I think he's kind of earned that right at this point in his career. He's been one of the best quarterbacks in the league for almost his entire career, pretty much ever since he left San Diego. So if he is or isn't, that team's still going to be a contender. He hasn't fallen off like Peyton Manning did his last year, I can tell you that. So all they need, you've seen him win last year with Teddy Bridgewater. All they need is for him not to make mistakes and lose them games at this point. Not having Michael Thomas hurts. I do think he's a tad overrated, but he's a great wide receiver. And not having an elite wide receiver is going to hurt you. And it was evident last night. But a lot of their problems is also because they can't cover a tight end. So more defensively, I think they have concern there. They could not stop Darren Waller. And I think that was more of their excuses. I want you to come and ask me this question again next week, and I'll have more of an opinion on that. I'm not sure which way to lean yet. You got anything to say for that?
Drew Brees actually statistically had a pretty good game. He had, I think, 68% completion percentage. He threw over 300 yards. The only thing that he was really lacking that's like the signature Brees was the touchdowns. He only had 1 touchdown, 1 interception. I don't know what you're talking about, but we're talking about Drew Brees as he washed up.
Broncos.
But what I noticed when I watched the game was it was very obvious that Drew Brees was missing Michael Thomas in that game. Even though he completed 68% of his balls for, I think, in like 12 yards a throw, that's pretty good in the NFL. He wasn't scoring touchdowns, and with Michael Thomas out there, they score a lot more touchdowns. So I don't think that Drew Brees is washed up yet. You can definitely see that regression is starting to happen, but he did throw 300 yards on I don't think the Raiders defense is bad, and he carved him up. So ask it again next week, and we might have a better answer. But right now, I'm going to lean no.
Yeah, he's got a tough test this week against the Packers. I want to see him against them, and then we'll talk again.
Yeah.
Next question. San Francisco, another top 5 pick this year with all the injuries. You want to start this one out?
He corrected it in the comments at top 10.
Oh, top 10. Oh, you did. Yep, my bad. Sorry about that.
So, no, I don't think San Francisco is going to be picking in the top 10 unless they somehow figure out how to trade up to get into there. San Francisco, even with those injuries that they had, it's still a really good football team. I don't know if it was more of a testament to how bad the Jets are or how good the 49ers were, but they lost like 25 guys in that game, and they still beat them by 30 points. So if you're a 49ers fan, I wouldn't quite worry as much. I think depending on the severity of like Jimmy Garoppolo's injury, Sheldon, get out of here. They might have a harder time going against real football teams, but I don't think this is going to be a team that's picking in the top 10. If their injuries prove to be too much, I see them picking somewhere between 15 and 20.
Yeah, I think there's zero chance that they're going to win this division with the injuries that they have. But they could finish last in this division and still not have a top 10 pick. So that's the good way to look at it if you're San Francisco. Like, you could literally finish with 3 teams making it. The entire division could make the playoffs. Like, they really could. So 3 wild card teams. It's really, with the talent in the division, it's really not that far fetched to think that they could all 3 get the wild card spot. I hope not, because I don't think my team's gonna win their division. So they kind of need one of those wild card spots to be open. But it's definitely plausible. Just because of the injuries, I think that they're gonna finish last in their division. But not nowhere. I don't think top 10. I would say about 15 probably. There's no way they're gonna be worse than 8-8. Because eventually, a lot of these guys, obviously Bosa's not coming back, but a lot of these guys are coming back. Jimmy G has an outside shot to still play this week. So I don't think he's going to, but that just tells you that he'll be back soon, like probably next week. If they're already looking at an outside shot this week, my guess is probably he'll be back on the field next week. But I wouldn't, high ankle stuff, I wouldn't chance it. I would definitely sit him out this week. But their division's all undefeated except for them, so maybe they feel like they need him to play. That's why I'm not the coach.
I need Mostert back. So do I, man. I got him on a fantasy team. He's really hurting me.
Yeah, Coleman's out too, so it's really it's the Jet show now.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting to see there. He looked good last week, but no, I don't think there's no shot that they finish in the top 10. Fat Patty fired after week 4. For those non-Lions people, that's Matt Patricia. He's kind of like, those people who've lied on their resumes and then got the job anyway. That's him. Yeah, second worst coach in football. Sorry, Jets fans. I think you guys kind of got that sealed up. But second worst, still pretty up there. Fired after week 4. If they're 0-4, yeah, he's gonna. I think he gets fired. There's no way that he's gonna survive. Especially if Bob Quinn's looking to try to save his job. Firing his friend after an 0-4 start is a good push to try to save your own job, to show that you can put personal differences aside. I don't think it will save his job, but it's like that last push, kind of like a serial killer who confesses to other crimes at the last second to try to avoid the death penalty. That's kind of it never works, but that's what they always try to do. So I think if he goes 0-4, he's going to be fired after week 4. I don't think there's a shot that he survives it. I think the only reason he's not fired yet is just because they're seeing what they got with Galladay on the field, but they're going to find out that it's not. Galladay's not the problem. The offense hasn't looked all that bad. It's really been the defense can't stop anybody, man. Like, you can't give up 40-plus points. I knew this was going to be a slaughter. When they give 27 to Mitch Trubisky, like, I mean, any team with an offense, Arizona's going to put up high 30s. They play New Orleans. They'll score high 30s. This defense is bad. The guy that they brought in from Philly wasn't even that good to begin with, and they thought they was going to fix it. Cliff Kingsbury just said that they look exactly the same as they did last year, so there's no improvement. I don't know. I just don't know. He was a terrible pick from the start. I said that when they hired him. I wanted to give him a chance, but when they hired him, I couldn't believe it. The Patriots were ranked 32nd in the league in defense that year, and they hired the guy as a defensive guru. 32nd. 32 teams in the league. Sheldon, you got to move, bro.
Get out of here, dude.
You're on camera. Any more you got to add to that?
As much as I don't like Matt Patricia, I think week 4 is too early in the season to give him the boot. I think that the writing's already on the wall. I think that he knows, look, if we don't win a playoff game this season, I'm done. Bob Quinn's done. But I don't think that this Lions team is a team that's good enough to make it to the playoffs, let alone win a playoff game this season. So I think that the writing's on the wall, but just because they don't have an adequate interim coach on their team, I think that they'll have it play out until probably like week 14. That's usually around the time that happens. I can't remember a time where a head coach got fired in the first 5 weeks of the season. So I think Patricia's regime is done, barring some crazy MVP season from Stafford that leads them to the playoffs. But I think week 4 is too early for me.
They better start that this week then, because
I don't think that they will they'll start it this week.
Yeah.
It's not a great week to do it.
Good luck. Jeff wants to know what Dan Quinn's good at. You want to take that one?
Dan Quinn's one of those guys where just like he's gotta like have just like a smoking hot wife, and like he brings her to like the team meetings and stuff because the owner must have a crush on her because like there's no way. I mean, he's not. I don't think that he's a terrible coach by any means, but I don't think he's a NFL worthy head coach. He would be a great defensive coordinator, I think, if his team could just not give up 40 points in the fourth quarter. That would be great. But no, I can't think of too many things that Dan Quinn is actually good at. His teams used to be pretty competitive, not so much anymore. I think it's time to let Dan Quinn go and start a new regime in Atlanta because you still got Julio for a few more years before he's going to regress. You might as well try to get something out of him. There's just rotting away in Atlanta.
Yeah, I don't think this is a fire you need to make during the season, though. You can wait till the season's over to fire Dan Quinn. But I don't think he's good at anything. The only thing he's good at is blowing 20-some point leads. He looked good at first. I think it was just part of like he came in with this new scheme and they lit it up for a little bit. Now Matt Ryan presses for a ton of yards, but it's never when they need it to be. Mm-hmm. They either do it like he does it like super early and lights up the scoreboard and then just forgets to play in the second half, or they go down by like 30 and then all of a sudden Matt Ryan puts up 450 yards like last week. Yep. And he looks like a god out there. But if you actually watched the game, you were like, okay, but this guy didn't even show up in the first two quarters. So, like, it's easy to put up yardage, especially touchdowns not as much, but yardage on prevent defense when they're just out there making sure they're not giving up a bomb. That's pretty much what they're out there for. Then they picked apart the 10 yards at a time, and that's what he was doing against Seattle in week 1. So, I think it's time for Dan Quinn to go, and I think it's time for Matt Ryan to go. I think Matt Ryan, he needs a culture change. I don't think Matt Ryan's a bad quarterback. Don't get me wrong, but it's just kind of like Stafford in Detroit, where I think they both would benefit from going to a different team at this point in their career. They've been held back by like mediocre coaching and mediocre team building around them for the majority of their careers. So they're kind of both in the same boat where I think they both should go. Dan Quinn should go. Atlanta should just start a full rebuild at this point. They stand no chance at winning this division anytime in the future because I know that you think that just because Tampa and New Orleans have old quarterbacks, but their entire teams are talented. Mm-hmm. So, like, they're a quarterback away from being Super Bowl contenders. Both those guys are. After this year. Like, they have plenty of talent, so it's not just one of those teams where you're like, oh, their quarterback's going to retire and they're going to regress. They're not. Tampa and New Orleans aren't going anywhere. So if you're going to rebuild, do it now while their talent gets old.
Right, and Matt Ryan's not exactly a young quarterback.
Yeah, he's like 30, 35. So he's got to be 34, 35, I think, right? Yeah, so, yeah, I definitely think a culture change is needed. I don't think he's that good at anything. I think he looks like he's a pretty cool guy who gets along with his players, but you need more than that in the NFL. So, yeah. Next up, thoughts on Cam Newton through 2 games as a Patriot. All right, he's back. I don't know how else to put that. He's back. His legs look good, which was always a concern. That's what I said at the beginning of the season. If his legs were good, he was going to be good. His legs look good. And that's dangerous because Cam could run. He's not the best thrower in the world. But if you're concerned with where he's going to go, it opens up a lot of passing opportunities because they're watching the quarterback and they're not paying attention to where the receivers are going. So that opens up through the air like he did. Like week 1, he hardly did anything through the air. He ran all over the Dolphins, right? Now week 2, Seattle's worried about him running, and then he throws all over the place because all these receivers are open all over the place because they don't want Cam to run everywhere. These dual threat quarterbacks benefit teams a lot. All they have to do is be mediocre passes if they can move on their feet. Michael Vick showed that almost his whole career. Michael Vick was never a good passer. He ran all over the place, and Cam Newton's a slower but stronger Michael Vick. He's not a mediocre passer, but will just bulldoze you and run all over you, so you can't leave it open. I feel bad for Cam the way that they lost the game. Seattle had to stop that run all game until the final play. And it's very ironic that New England now ran it on the one against Seattle and then got stuffed.
Yeah.
Like, it's the exact opposite of what happened in their Super Bowl game. So I have nothing more to add to that other than he's back. I said I doubted it from the beginning, and rightfully so. I needed to see something first. I didn't want to jump on the bandwagon, but he's back. He looks good. So New England should be competitive this year.
Yeah, so when Cam Newton first signed with the Patriots, there were people everywhere saying, this is Jarrett Stidham's team. This is Jarrett Stidham's job to lose. And for all of those people, I hope that there's a big plate of crow for you. Because Cam Newton looks unstoppable in New England. And I love it. I love it. I mean, I'm not a huge Cam Newton fan, but I love the story behind how everyone gave up on him. He's making veteran minimum money, and he's out there just
making less money than Nathan Peterman.
Yeah. And it's great to see a Cam Newton that's in love with the game again. And it's great. He's all smiles. He's celebrating. And what I really love is New England has completely changed its team. It's now like a smash mouth football team. It gets on that goal line. They put their big boys up front. And if you can't stop Cam Newton on the run, he's just going to do a little lob pass in for the end zone. It's just great. I love it. It reminds me of like 60s football. But then he also can like torch you like he did against Seattle.
Yeah.
But
400 yards.
It's crazy seeing how Cam Newton has just like revitalized his career. It's great. I absolutely love it. I have him on like 3 fantasy teams. So I'm loving it. Cam Newton is back, and I don't think he's going away for a while.
Very true. I'll eat crow on that one for sure. 7 torn ACLs, free coincidence or lack of off-season due to COVID?
Yeah, I think this is very COVID related because when you think about the off-season, for most teams, the off-season's really starting right after the Super Bowl. They're doing their training regimens. They're meeting with the other players. They're continuing for like 6 months just practicing for the new season. You didn't have that this year. So all this conditioning you put your body through just to handle the hits that you're going to have in the NFL, to handle all the movement, you didn't have that this year. You weren't allowed to go out and practice with your teammates for the most part until like the last month before the season started. And I think we're really seeing what happens when you don't prepare your body for an NFL season. And I completely relate it to COVID because you never see this. We're just about to start week 3, and if you look at teams' depth charts, they're obliterated by injuries. It's insane, and that's the only thing I can think of. I don't think it's a fluke at all. I think this has to do with not being able to train your body.
Yeah. I know this is what Craig asked, but I see this a lot, so I'm going to say it on the podcast. I want to correct this. This has nothing to do with not having preseason games, okay? Because there's a lot of things that were affected by not having preseason games, but this isn't one of them. It's the off-season that got cut short is the reason why ACLs are tearing. Because I've seen people go, this is what happens when you have no preseason. Like, they could have had no preseason or had no injuries if they had a full training camp. Because the preseason, most of the starters don't play that long in a preseason game. So the games have nothing to do with it. It's the training camp where you've been stretching out your muscles and working it and going hard every day. So it's ready instead of you're just going boom, full speed, 100% in such a short time causes these type of injuries. Improper stretching too, and they're professionals, so a lot of these guys don't stretch, and having a longer off season, their trainers are there with them, stretching out their bodies for them a lot of times, where these guys are just jumping in and they don't stretch before games like they should. They go out there and they sit on one knee and pretend like they're stretching. I know this because we did that when we were in football. So, like, they definitely do it as professionals. They don't even buckle their helmets tight enough, so don't think that they're really stretching, like, because they're not. And so, yeah, it definitely has. There's just, I don't think that this type of stuff should ever happen. They could have taken better precautions and still allowed a training camp. I think the NFL handled COVID pretty good for the most part, but I think that's where they made their mistake. They needed a training camp. They should have, if anything, even pushed the season back a month. You'd have been fine. Like, nobody would have cared that much.
That would have been great to see some football in January for the regular season.
I know, it would have. Like, nobody would have cared that much. The XFL's not starting this year, so it's not like you were trying to push through another football season, but with ratings, with everything that's going on out in the real world. You guys know what I'm talking about. We're not going to bring it up here, but so you're not going to be competing with ratings with that league this year. You could have definitely pushed it back a month and gave these guys another month to work their shit with not really any fans. You don't have to worry about refunding anybody's tickets by pushing back games. Like, you could have did it. You could have made a full season and made it better. Again, I definitely think they did a pretty good job with COVID. They did a lot of things right. sometimes you just got to admit where there were some wrong things, and not having a full training camp, they're seeing was just a mistake at this point. So, but what do? You can't go back now. So it's not like you stop the season now and give them another month. So, when will the Jets fire Gase? Could he be fired during the year? On the hot seat, big time. Would love your guys' opinion. I don't know how he hasn't been fired yet. I can't tell you because I don't know why anybody even hired him to begin with. I don't know what kind of leash he's got. They believe in him in New York for some reason. And I'm not talking about his players. His players don't believe in him. I'm talking about the front office for some reason believes in this guy. They believed in him from the beginning. I said when they hired him, I couldn't believe they hired him. He misused everybody in Miami already before he ever went here. It was just like, what the hell? It's the same thing I think anytime Josh McDaniels gets thought about being a head coach. Like, did you not see it the first time or what? Like, this is the exact same scenario here. Like, I don't know. I wish I could give you an actual explanation from reasonable thinking he should have already been fired. But I don't understand the Jets organization. I'm not gonna be able to tell you that, but I know it should be now and before now. So I don't know if you have anything to add. He's terrible.
Yeah, so I don't really understand the hire either because the Jets and the Dolphins are division rivals. And so you obviously play the Dolphins twice, see how terrible of a job he's doing there, see how his players don't want to play for him, see how there's a mutiny going on in Miami, and then you're like, you know what? This is going to be the guy for us. Like, this is going to make it happen, Captain. No, it's if there's any head coach that would get fired early in the season, it should be Adam Gase. That guy just sucks. He's a complete dumpster. I can't think of any positives to say about him.
There's none.
That dude needs to be out of the NFL because it's just bad.
I also want to point out he's the only coach ever that would say the running back that you just signed that we didn't even have an intention of wanting him here and he didn't want him here at all. Like, he said that out loud publicly
after you paid him like $60 million.
Right, because that's a way to make your players feel good and want to play for you.
Right.
That was already, like, if you didn't have red flags about him before, that should have set off a bunch. Because you just don't say, you can believe that in your head, but you just don't say that stuff out loud.
Yeah.
Okay, you're like, he's on the team, we got to find a way to use him, whatever. Think whatever you want in your head, but out loud you don't say that kind of stuff. It causes locker room problems. Like, you just don't do that. Especially since most of the guys blend with the players, especially a leader like Le'Veon Bell, so it really puts a divide in your locker room. Yeah, Gase is terrible. Is it finally time for the Lions to move on from Stafford? If they could trade him today for a first rounder and have a chance of drafting Lawrence, I'd jump on it in a heartbeat. What do you got to say about that?
Okay, so Matthew Stafford. All right, let's see. We got some Lions fans in here. Probably going to lose some fans here. I am not a Matthew Stafford fan, but that's personal reasons. Outside of that, I think that it is. This is probably if you were going to move on from him, this would probably be the time to do it. Would be this season, with Patricia already 1 foot out the door. A new regime's going to come in, and 9 times out of 10, a new regime likes to go draft their own guy. That's just how football works. The problem with Stafford is his trade value. Although he has put up really good numbers in his career, he's 32 years old. He's shown recently in recent years that he's got injury problems. I don't think a first-round pick is a realistic option. I think the best option you'd be looking for is probably like a third-round draft pick for a 32-year-old quarterback that can't stay on the field. I don't think the Lions are going to be in position to get Trevor Lawrence unless they just somehow trade their stock.
It'd be worse than the Jets.
And the Jets. Well, the Jets are going to get Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, because they got Darnold.
Darnold still looks good, but I think for the sake of getting value while you still can this season might be I guess you'd have to look around week 7, week 8 how those Detroit Lions are doing, and we'll address that farther on in a couple questions. But if the Lions are sitting there at 0-7, it might be time to pull that plug and see what value you can get, because there might be a team that's a quarterback away from making a serious playoff push.
Yeah, so Cleveland, if Baker doesn't work out by then, that could really be a trade to look at there, because talent-wise, if Baker don't work out, they're a quarterback away from.
Oh, could you imagine Stafford with Odell Beckham,
my
Jarvis
God.
Landry, and that running
There's no
attack?
way they'd lose. Plus, they have a good defense. Like,
Yeah.
they would be a damn good team. Like, so there's teams like that could pull the trigger. I do think it would be time, and it's not. Everyone knows I like Stafford. It's not a dig on Stafford. It's just a culture change, like I talked about with Matt Ryan earlier. I linked him in with Stafford. I think that if they don't find a way to make the playoffs, I don't think it's going to be. He thinks a trade midseason, unless they're like 0-7, like you said. I don't think that's going to happen. But after the year, you got to think about it, because it's just like maybe one of those things where he would be better off somewhere else. It's more of a I respect what you brought for the team, so we're going to let you go win somewhere else type respect. Well, we know we're not going anywhere.
Hey, but
so
have the Lions ever done that for any of their stars?
I know. I'm just saying for once, do it. I know they haven't. They have never done that for their stars. It's shameful that they have, especially for Barry.
Yeah, Barry.
Because Barry was the big one. Kind of Kelvin Johnson. He had his own little. He wasn't innocent in the whole Lions thing. Barry was 100% innocent.
Yeah.
Okay, and they ruined him. I would say it's just time. Tank for Trevor. Trevor's gonna be a success. There's no bust level on him. Okay, so if they are 0-7 at that point, try to pull the trigger. Or even if you can't, trading him after the season is gonna hurt because the cap space is gonna go down. So you could even have Stafford here for one more year and have Trevor Lawrence sit behind him, and all that'll do is do good things for him. So, but either way, you got to think about another quarterback if you don't win. Like this, it's just how it is. Stafford's a great player, will do great things other places, but the Lions just can't do it for him. You're wasting his entire career. You've wasted 2 Hall of Famers already. Stafford has the talent level of a Hall of Famer, and you're preventing him from being one. Like, that's the way you got to look at it, because quarterbacks don't make the Hall of Fame unless they get those playoff wins. It's not like every other position.
Mm-hmm.
So you're stopping that potential. So, yeah, I'd say it's make or break year for Stafford and the Lions this year. Do the Jets just tank for Trevor? Is Gase holding Sam back? The Jets should definitely tank, because they stink. Like, they're really bad. Plus, I know players never really tank, okay? Like, I know that's always a top organization thing where they cut all the players and hope, because players always give 100% because they never know if they're going to be signed by another team if they don't show up. But if you're the players, I would think about being the first team to ever have players give up. Because if you don't want to play for Adam Gase, the best way to do it is go 0-16. Plus, you're going to get something out of that. You're not going to draft Trevor because I know everybody in New York believes in Sam Darnold. And I believe in Sam Darnold. I think Adam Gase is holding Sam Darnold back. But you're going to get some major trade value out of that number 1 pick knowing Trevor Lawrence is there. Like, you could get whatever you wanted for that number 1 pick. So, yeah. See, you could tank. I don't think it's tank for Trevor, but I think it's tank for trade value, for sure. I don't think the Jets have to tank. I said before the Jags are the worst team. I think it's the Jets. The Jets are the worst team, and then they shouldn't be. They have more talent on their team than the Jaguars do. But because of who's coaching, they're the worst team in the league. So, yeah, I really do. And yes, he's holding Sam back. He 100% is holding Darnold back. Darnold has shown in small spurts what he's capable of doing. Flip back to the Dallas game last year. When he came back from mono and had something to prove, and he did it, right? But the problem is you can only do that for so long when your coaching is so bad.
Yeah.
And like, you can show up for a game, but your coaches and their game plans are just terrible. And you can only do so much, especially when you're a young QB and you don't have all the audible ability that a veteran QB is given. Like, didn't matter who Peyton Manning's coach was because he would just change the play on him anyway.
Yeah.
So he really didn't need a coach. He just needed a guy with a title, right?
Yeah.
So, like, Sam Darnold's too young to do that yet. He can change the plays a little bit, but he ain't got free will like Brady or Breeze or somebody like that. Even like Matt Ryan, Matt Stafford type guys have the ability to go out there and do what they kind of want because they're veterans. Like, Darnold isn't there yet. He hasn't won enough games. He hasn't put up enough numbers. He hasn't really played enough because he's missed some games. But he'll get there eventually, but I don't think during the Adam Gase era. And you're going to really see what he's at after Gase is out of here. So hopefully that's soon.
Yeah. The Jets, I don't think that they're going to tank. I don't think they're going to win very many games. But I'm not a huge believer that teams tank. Just because, like Coop said, it's just they don't know when their next opportunity is going to be. If you show that you're going to tank, that if I'm a coach, I'm saying, okay, well, that guy isn't going to give his all. Yeah. And if the Jets finish with the first pick in the draft, I do strongly believe they're not going to get Trevor Lawrence. This is not the Arizona Cardinals, Kyler Murray picking over Josh Rosen situation, because Josh Rosen just wasn't very good in Arizona. And all you need to do is see that one clip of Sam Darnold last week where he avoids that sack, rolls out to the left, and does the Mahomes-esque side sling for that 30-yard touchdown. That thing was the coolest touchdown pass of the entire season so far. That guy has skill. He just needs a new coach. So I don't think the Jets are going to tank. I just don't think that they're going to have a very successful year. I don't think I'm going to be picking them very much in our pick for the rest of the season.
Yeah, probably not. I would agree with you there. Okay, I have to go first again because Neil specifically asked me to go first. So he wants me to answer this first. Is Wentz ever going to be able to be capable of taking charge, put the team on his back, and will them to victories like some of the greats have? So I have to say this, I'm not an Eagles fan, but Wentz has put the team on his back and has willed them to victories. Last year, I've said this on both the first two podcasts. I'm going to say it again. Last year, he led a bunch of Subway sandwich makers to the playoffs. I know it wasn't great. They were only 9-7, but he had nobody around him and still willed them to the playoffs. At some point in time, a guy needs help. Do I think Wentz is an elite quarterback in the league? No, not yet. He's got potential, but he's not there yet. But is he a good quarterback? Yes, he's a good quarterback. He's off to a rough start because he's had no O-line protection and he's got no receivers. Like, this is just how this goes. Plus, they have injury issues, which I'm not going to throw that out because every team right now has injury issues. So that's the least of his concern. But the fact that he's got no receivers, no offensive line besides one guy, and not to mention their defense is horrid. I was talking to Brent yesterday, and their starting linebackers couldn't be backups in any other team in the league. Like they're so bad that Lions fans hate Jared Davis, okay, right? Brent would kill to have Jared Davis on his team. Like, kill to have Jared Davis on the Eagles. Okay, like, that's how bad their linebackers are. Like, this team has a lot more problems, and I don't think Wentz is the key. Wentz, like I said, Wentz is not the greatest QB in the league. He's not in the elite category of QBs, okay? But he's a good quarterback, and it's not a quarterback you ever need to bail on. He's got a lot of potential if he can stay healthy. Yeah, health's an issue, right? And I think that's part of the reason why they drafted Jalen Hurts, to be safe, right? But I also think they need to, because your offensive line is bad, you know that, I think you need to do more Wentz, Jalen Hurts kind of like rotational thing there in Philly, just to keep them on their toes. I'm not even saying Jalen Hurts has to throw the ball very often, but use him in some packages, keep the defense on its toes. You're just seeing too much of it. You got to be inventive when you have lack of talent out there in areas. Like, that's a coaching thing, and I know you might not agree with me there, but he's not a perfect coach, and I think he's got to do some things to tweak this. It's hard. He's got some issues to work with here, but I think Wentz has done what Neil's asked already before. It's just difficult to continue to do all the time. It's like Stafford in Detroit. You can't always carry the team on your back. Sometimes you need help.
Yeah, I'm probably going to sound like a broken record because it almost was like Coop was looking over here looking at my notes reading this, but there's been multiple times where Carson Wentz has thrown the team on his back. Not only did he take a team that was 5-7 and had like a 12% chance of making the playoffs with guys that nobody except for the most diehard, deepest fantasy football leagues, like I'm talking, you have these guys, like you're starting like 6 wide receivers and you have like 12 on your bench, then you might recognize some of these names. But these guys were on practice squads, and Carson Wentz drove them to a playoff appearance. Yeah, they did not win, but he still, I don't know how many quarterbacks could have done what he did. And prior to that, even when in 2017, during what should have been Carson Wentz's MVP year before he went down in injury, there wasn't a quarterback in the league better than him. And he was, even the Rams game, he put that was the one game where that was the deciding factor who was going to have home field advantage throughout the playoffs. And Carson Wentz, until he went down in the fourth quarter, he really put that team on his back, and he showed that he was the better pick over Jared Goff. But like Coop said, the weapons aren't there. His new wide receiver, Jalen Reagor, he's out for 6 weeks. Alshon Jeffrey shouldn't even be on the team anymore because he's a cancer in the locker room.
He's not that good anymore either.
He's not going to play probably until week 8. Deshaun Jackson's 34 years old, and everyone else is those practice squad receivers. So, yes, they do have a really good promising running back in Miles Sanders. He looks great. But that defense, outside of that defensive line, is not very good at all. I've been a fan of the Eagles since 1999, and this is the worst defense I have ever seen.
Side note, they had a lot of bad defenses in the Michael Vick era, too, and this is the worst.
And the Chip Kelly.
Chip Kelly era, yeah.
So, yeah, Carson Wentz I don't think is the problem. When you look at his interceptions this year, he's got 4 interceptions. 3 of those 4, I would not put the blame on Carson Wentz at all. One of them was a really bad throw this past week. But I think Carson Wentz has put the team on his back. And everyone wrote the Eagles off last year, and they went and did some things. It wasn't pretty, but they went and did some things. Now with an expanded playoff format, it could happen again. I'm not sure. But the season last year looked exactly like it did this year. So you never know. But I think Carson Wentz is not the problem in Philadelphia.
Ditto. Okay, is Minnesota in trouble yet? Your league.
So, I don't know how many of you guys watch Minnesota Vikings football games, but this is not a bad football team. Their problem is they have arguably a top 5 defensive end in the league that isn't playing. And without that kind of pressure, that force on the defense, you're really starting to see those young cornerbacks getting exposed. And because of that, you're not seeing this Minnesota offense that can be so dangerous on the field at all. I think they're only on the field for, I think both games they were under 20 minutes of time of possession. So
it's an NFL record, by the way.
Yeah, it's insane. If the Vikings struggle to create pressure once Danielle Hunter is back, then I would say that maybe you can start to worry, because that guy is a game changer.
He's better than Yannick.
Yes, he is better than Yannick Ngakoue, for sure. And Yannick was doing some things in the second half. He was.
Yeah, he did.
But
he did his thing.
But he can't do it alone. And they really need Danielle Hunter back. I think it's too early to pull the plug on the Vikings. Maybe not so much for winning the division. I think if they lose this week and Green Bay wins against the Saints,
that almost seal it.
Things
between
can get
Chicago and Green Bay at this point.
Yeah, because this is not baseball where if you're 3 games back in your division, you can come back pretty easily. It's really hard to do that. I would not pull the plug on them, though. I think that the Vikings can be a playoff team if they can figure out how to stop the opponent on offense.
Okay, it's going to be a tough pill to swallow. Are they in trouble? They're in a little bit of trouble. Are they done? They're not done. No. So they got some major defensive issues. Okay, so the problem was exactly what I feared the problem would be going into the season, right? I said there's only one thing that concerned me going into the season, and that was the fact that our oldest cornerback is 24 years old. You're talking about having 7 corners on the roster, and the oldest one's 24. That's good and bad. Good for the future. Terrible for right now. So, if they can, these corners, they're young, they're going to make mistakes, but they're also very athletic and can make plays if given an opportunity. Okay, nobody can cover receivers if they have to cover them for 10 seconds. Okay, like, you got to get pressure. Yannick started to come alive in the second half, but he's still getting used to that scheme and stuff like that too, so he's not bursting through the line like he was doing in Jacksonville. Like, so it's going to take him probably even another week. I still don't expect him to be the old Yannick against Tennessee this week, but by week 4, we should probably start seeing Yannick be how Yannick was. But like, it's also hurts them that their best pass rush linebacker just went down for the season with a shoulder injury. Okay, like that's not good. The Vikings are pretty set at linebacker, though. I mean, their replacements, they're going to have a couple guys that are able to rotate in there. They won't be able to pressure the quarterback, though, and that's the big fear because that's what they're not doing. If when Danielle Hunter comes back, though, and they can get to the quarterback, you're going to see this defense get a lot better. Because they have the best safety duo in the league back there, okay? But the problem is that they're not the main coverage guys. So, like, the corners can't be giving up these 10. They're not giving up big plays. If you're watching the games, it's 4 yards, 5 yards, because they're afraid to throw towards Anthony Harrison and Harrison Smith. They're not going deep. They're going, we're going to pick these young guys off quick little routes, boom, boom, which is also another reason we're not getting pressure because, like, most of the passes are quick, and then just so happens when they actually stand back there, they just got time. All you have to do is double team Yannick right now, and you're good. We got some good run stuffers in the middle, but they're not pass rushers. So double team Yannick, and you're set. I don't know. I wouldn't say they're done. I'm this close to tipping off they're winning the NFC North, like Brent said, kind of like they can't afford to lose and Green Bay win this week. Their best outlook right now is that Green Bay's playing New Orleans, who's a very good football team. Okay, so and you never want to count Drew Brees out ever. So they got to win. They could take a big step here by beating Tennessee and Green Bay losing to New Orleans. My thing is that Tennessee is a run first team, so I think that they could do a lot better here than they have against the other teams because you ain't got to worry about like a pass, like getting a ton of pass rush on Tannehill because they're gonna feed Henry and they're gonna know that. Okay, so this is where Eric Kendricks is gonna come into play. They're gonna send him probably anywhere Derrick Henry goes. Okay, they're gonna just have him just watch Derrick Henry and go. That's what they're gonna do in this game. Their offense, and I know you guys, people said their offenses look bad, but I don't know if you guys watched week 1 because they scored 34 points in 18 minutes. Their offense didn't look bad. Dalvin Cook's only got 113 rushing yards. It's hard to do that when you're losing. You can't run the football. I mean, his yards per carry is good. He's just not getting carries because they're down. So their offense did look bad in week 2, but again, it's hard. Like I talked to Brent about this again yesterday. It's hard to build chemistry with your guys when you're never on the field. Okay, like you're sitting on the sideline for 30 minutes waiting for your defense to actually make a stop, and you're just sitting there. You're not warm anymore. You haven't been able to build any chemistry or any momentum because you've been sitting on the sideline. So until the defense steps up, it's going to affect the offense. So that's just things that are going to happen. And sometimes people just have bad games. And I don't mean for us to sound like polar opposites or similarities because making excuses for our teams, but 2 of those 3 picks, our Cousins weren't even his fault. Well, I guess I shouldn't say not his fault because the Hail Mary is kind of your fault, but he threw one on a Hail Mary at the end of the half where you're just chucking it up. 7 out of 10 times it's going to be intercepted. Yeah. That's just what happens on those plays, right? You're just hoping for a miracle on that. So you know it's almost going to be picked when you throw it. It's just a what-if type play. And then the other one bounced right off Adam Thielen's hands. So, and Adam Thielen never drops a pass. So it's just a freak, fluke thing. He never drops anything, so it was weird to see. He did try to force one at Adam Thielen, and I think that he has losing Diggs has kind of affected Cousins a little bit because he hasn't had the offseason to work with Jefferson, so he's trying to force some stuff to Thielen though, and I have seen that. So he hasn't been playing his best football, but he's not as bad as his 2 TDs, 4 interceptions start. He's just got to learn that he's got to trust his guys. Jefferson made a huge catch in that game. That kept a drive alive. They didn't end up capitalizing it, unfortunately, but it was in time when they needed it. And I hope that helped them build some chemistry with Jefferson. We'll have to see. This week will be my deciding factor, and actually can't wait till we get to my picks. You guys are not going to believe. But, all right, do the Lions win a game before week 9? I'll read out what they got left before I answer this question. They got at Arizona versus the Saints, at Jacksonville, at Atlanta versus the Colts, at Minnesota. I'm going to say, plenty of these games are winnable. I know Neil asked this question. He's very down on each. He's a former Lions fan that was driven out of town by the team's inept to run a team, which I feel, okay, I'm a Lions. I know I'm a Vikings fan first, but I've lived in Michigan my whole life. I've grown up loving the Lions still, too. So I feel it. Neither one of my teams have won a championship, so I feel it on so many levels, okay? But the Lions have a shot to beat 4 of these 16. Not that they will, but they have a good shot. I don't think they're going to beat Arizona or New Orleans. I'm going to cross those off now. That's an 0-4 start. Okay, I mean, the Lions do have a habit of beating teams they shouldn't beat sometimes and then losing to teams they should. So I wouldn't be shocked if they lose them, but just off of how they've performed so far, I got those two as a loss. But they could beat the Jags, Falcons, Colts, and especially the Vikings right now. I hate to say it, but the way that they look right now, just now, Danielle Hunter will be back by then. So we'll see. But as of right now, the Vikings are worse than the Lions. I put that in the comments too. I hate saying it, but the Lions have at least had an offense consistently for 2 games. The Vikings haven't. So they could win any of those games. I don't think they'll be winless by week 9. No, I'm not saying they'll have a pretty record. Probably not. They'll drop. They'll probably lose to the Jags because that's a team they really hammer. So they'll probably lose. But yeah, they'll win. They'll win a game before week 9. I don't think there's a shot they're going to be winless. Not with that soft 4-game stretch right there that looked brutal at the beginning of the year. We're looking a lot less brutal at this point in time. So we'll see how it goes. I don't think they'll be winless at this point now.
Yes, so when I looked at the schedule up until week 9, I highlighted 3 teams that I think the Lions had a legitimate chance at beating. And that was the Jaguars, the Colts, and the Vikings. I don't think Atlanta will have a problem with Detroit. Atlanta historically has matched up very well with Detroit. The Jaguars, though, that one, it scares me because Gardner Minshew looks great right now. And like Coop said, the Lions seem to always kind of match the level of their competitors, which could mean that they upset New Orleans. I doubt it. And I don't think they're going to beat Arizona. Kyler Murray looks like the real deal in year 2.
Not to mention the Lions never win in the desert.
Yeah.
They never beat Arizona in Arizona, no matter how bad Arizona is. And now they're good, so.
The Colts play a very, very conservative offense. And Phillip Rivers just doesn't have it. He lost it before Drew Brees did, if that tells you anything. They both play on the same football team. So I think that the Colts could be a realistic option where the Lions could steal a win, but it just depends on how well the Colts are clicking, because you don't know what Colts you're going to get. You could get the Colts that played the Jaguars and lost, or you get the Colts that just completely manhandled Minnesota and just cakewalked its way to a win. So it just really depends on what Colts team you face when you're the Lions, and then the Vikings. If this Vikings game was in Detroit, I would be more likely to lean towards that as a win. But a divisional game away against a Minnesota football team that, barring any injuries from now until then, is going to be better with Danielle Hunter. Do I think they get a win? I don't. But it would not surprise me if they beat one of those 3 teams.
Yeah, there's winnable games on the schedule. It's pretty hard to go winless that long.
Yeah.
You would have to. I think that they have to be able to somehow accidentally win one of those.
Yeah.
Games.
When I looked at the schedule, I saw 3 opportunities where they could, but personally, I don't think it's going to happen for them. I think they're going to start after their bye week by beating the Washington football team.
Okay, which 0-2 teams should we sell our stocks on out of these 3? Minnesota, Houston, or Philly? Okay, so which 2 teams? You just literally asked 2 hosts that are a fan of one of these teams.
I think you did that on purpose.
I don't know, but this doesn't make an intriguing question. I'm going to say Houston and Philly because I'm a Vikings fan. He's going to say the opposite and leave Philly out. So, but I'm going to make it more fun. I'm going to say sell your stock on Minnesota and Houston because Philly plays in a trash NFC East. Okay, so they have the best chance out of the 3 of them realistically of making the playoffs. So I'm going to say if you had to sell based on odds, you want to sell Minnesota and Houston.
So, yeah. Obviously, I'm not going to choose Philly. So my reasoning behind that was Philly was 1-2 in 2019. If they win against Cincinnati, they'll be 1-2 this season. They won their division. It's called the NFC least for a reason. There's a lot of trash teams. It used to be the greatest division in football. Not the case anymore.
Not for a while.
Really, the only competition the Eagles have is the Dallas Cowboys. and Dallas is literally just, they're going to implode. They do it every year. So I wouldn't quite sell the stock on Philly. Philly likes to get hot at the end of the year. Houston, losing D-Hop has shown to be the critical error, and it could spell the end of Bill O'Brien if they continue this pattern. I don't think Houston's a bad football team. They had to face the Super Bowl champions week 1, and then the Baltimore Ravens, which are a dangerous team week 2. It's very hard to fault them for being 0-2 at this point.
Yeah, Pittsburgh and Minnesota next too, so
yeah.
I don't know if that's much easier.
Right. The football gods did not grant them with a favorable schedule, but I don't know. Deshaun Watson, he's a miracle worker. Not quite as well as Mahomes, but he can get it done, which it leaves Minnesota. And Minnesota's got a lot of talent on that team. But until they figure out how to play defense this season, it's hard for me to argue not to sell stock on them. It's just the cornerback situation is just, they need to figure out how to straighten it out and right the ship. If they fix the cornerback situation, that team, you're going to see a drastic turnaround. But if they don't, you're going to see very similar results all season long.
I'm also going to point out, too, I really don't think you should sell stock on any of these teams, though, because Minnesota started 2-2 last year and looked bad, or like a really bad. Kirk Cousins only threw 2 touchdowns through the first 4 games last year, and people were calling for his head. And then all of a sudden he had. If the MVP was only on a 12-game season, Kirk Cousins would have been the MVP last year.
He was on fire after those first 4 games.
After week 4, like he had 2 TDs, 4 picks, the exact same stats he has right now. Through 4 games last year, and he only threw 2 more picks the rest of the year and 24 touchdowns.
Yeah, he was it was great.
So I mean, I wouldn't. I feel like the Vikings kind of start slow. It's kind of been a little bit of a trend. The last time they won the NFC North, they started the same way. So I wouldn't necessarily sell my stock. I'm concerned. I wouldn't sell my stocks on them.
But the question was if you
had to pick. I know. That's why I answered it first before I pointed that out. But I just want to point out that I really wouldn't do it to any of those. But yeah, I would say if you had to pick out of those two of those 3, it's Houston and Minnesota, just because Philly has the worst division. I think they could win that division with 8 to 9 wins.
Yeah.
You're not winning the NFC North with 8 to 9 wins.
No, you're not making the playoffs.
You might not even make the playoffs in the NFC with 8 and 9 because the NFC is so good.
Yeah.
Houston, Tennessee looks better than I thought they were going to look, at least offensively. They got some defensive problems they have to fix. But they're 2-0 already, and Houston's 0-2.
Yeah. That's
concerning regardless. And their road doesn't get any easier. They're going to get Pittsburgh, who's looked really good, especially defensively. Pittsburgh defensively looks amazing. They got some questions on offense, but defensively they look real good. And then you have Minnesota with a hopefully returning Daniel Hunter. So that could be a whole new team in week 4. So they could be 0-4 to start the season. So they probably have the toughest road of the 3 teams.
If Houston is 0-4, then you can 100% write
sell
them
stocks.
off. Because in NFL history, I could be wrong on this, but I could have swore I saw it somewhere. If you start the season 0-4, no team has ever made the playoffs, starting with that record. 0-3, you have like a 12% chance of making it.
0-2, you have a pretty solid chance still. Yeah. It's like 30-some% or something like that still.
Yeah, but it drops to like 0 at 0-4. It's very hard. You'd have to completely turn your season around, and it's very hard to do that.
The percentages will change starting next year, though, because you'll get an extra game, so 0-2 and stuff like that won't be as detrimental. Yeah. But we still have 16 games this year, so that's how we go.
Right.
Okay, now we're on to our picks. I'll lead the first one. So we got... Let's look at this here. Damn.
Miami at Jacksonville.
Thank you. Okay, so we have the mustache versus the beard next week, okay? I wasn't excited about this game until yesterday's little Twitter beef between Fitzpatrick and Minshew. So now I'm pretty excited about this game just because I think that they're having fun with it. So they're going to go out and have a fun game, not a boring little hand off the ball all the time game. So I'm going to take the beard in this game. I think Miami is the better football team. Minshew's the better quarterback. So that's what we're looking at here. It's going to be like which one struggles. Actually, Fitzpatrick played pretty well last week for Miami. So it really is going to depend on which Fitzpatrick shows up. But with the way that he's having fun with Minshew, I think he's going to have a decent game. He's going to come out with. Doesn't sound like he's got a lot of pressure on him, which kind of takes it off. He doesn't care. He's 40 years old. If Tua comes in and takes his job, he doesn't care at this point. He's out there to have fun. I just don't think Jacksonville, I've said this time and time again, I know they won, and then they played a close game against Tennessee, but eventually the lack of talent on that team is going to catch up. Okay, because they just don't have the talent. Like, unless this is one of those giant Cinderella stories that nobody sees coming, and all these guys are just going to make a name for themselves this year, but Jacksonville's management definitely gave up before the season started. So the fact that they won week 1 might have angered some of them. They were like, let's go get Trevor. But I don't know if they even should give it Trevor. Minshew's look like he can do the job. Like, I don't know why Jacksonville's kind of sold on getting a new quarterback. I'm not sure why, but I do think Miami's going to win this game. I just think the talent level eventually is going to get to Jacksonville because I just don't think they have enough talent to compete with NFL teams for too long. So I'm going to take Miami.
The battle for Florida between the two trash teams in Florida. I know that I'm going to have to eat some crow because I said I wasn't going to pick Jacksonville all season.
You did say that.
I'm picking them this week. Minshew he's looking fantastic. Minshew looks like he's playing with 2008 Randy Moss and Wes Welker out there. He's just lighting it up, and he's completing everything. And he's got nobody. He's got DJ Chark, and I don't think that Miami is a very good football team. Still, they're making moves in the right direction, but you can't just take a big wad of money, throw it at a defense, and say, "All right, you guys go play football." And that's essentially what they did. I think that this is going to be a really fun game to watch. This is a great Thursday night football. When I first saw it on the schedule, I said, I'm not watching this. This is going to be the worst. Who comes up with this? But you got two of the funniest quarterbacks in the NFL they're just going to go out and have fun. They know that their seasons don't really mean anything. And so they're just going to go out and do it. And it's going to be really fun to watch some good ball in the air football. And I'm taking Jacksonville. I think they have more heart than Miami does. And if you can win a football game with that roster, you can do anything in the NFL. So, Jacksonville, it's going to be a high-scoring game. Jags take it.
All right.
That was for you, Addison. Chicago and Atlanta. So, Atlanta. How can you do this to everybody? It's if we have a 20-point lead, it doesn't mean anything in the NFL for you guys. So you guys make it so hard for me to pick you because if you can let the Dallas Cowboys back in and win a football game because you don't know what an onside kick is, there's no faith. But at the same time, you're facing against the Chicago Bears with literally no offense. I don't know how they put 27 points on Detroit, but they didn't look great last week either, even though they won.
17 points against a not very good Giants defense. Yeah,
I think Chicago is probably the worst, probably the worst 2-0 football team out there. Yeah. I have Atlanta winning this football game. They're embarrassed about last week. They're gonna go put a smackdown. If you have Julio Jones, and you wouldn't not start him anyway, but definitely make sure he's in your lineup.
Oh, so you didn't hear the news today then?
No.
His hamstring's acting up. He may not play. Julio may not play.
I did not see this, so start him anyway.
Start him unless you see he's out.
If Julio's got a tweaked hamstring, he's still going to go 100 yards on that Bears team. That's not the same defense that we've seen in the past.
I do think their defense is still pretty formidable, but here's why I'm picking Atlanta. Because Atlanta offense, Matt Ryan, they score too many points, and Trubisky's not capable of scoring unless he's playing Detroit, because for some reason Trubisky plays extremely well against Detroit. I don't know why, but he does. Okay, so unless he's playing Detroit, he does not have the ability to score the amount of points that Atlanta's going to put up. Atlanta is going to put 25 to 30 points on the board, and most of the time Trubisky can't put 25 to 30 points on the board. He's just not that quarterback. It won't be long in the season before Foles. He's extended his window now because of his 2-0 start.
Yep.
So he's extended it, but I thought Foles would be the starter by week 5. He won't be the starter by week 5.
Unless an injury happens.
Unless an injury happens, right? But based on performance, just because he won his first 2 games, he's not going to get pulled that soon. But Trubisky's not good. Don't let his first quarter against the Giants and the fourth quarter against the Lions fool you. Because he's not. Okay, 2 quarters of football out of 8 is not a good quarterback. So if you're only good a fourth of the time, you're on my bench. Mm-hmm. So Atlanta's offense too good. Bears offense no good. Atlanta. Next game, Rams at Buffalo. This game is intriguing. This game is going to be fun. Josh Allen is on an MVP start to this season. Okay, all the Josh Allen haters out there that didn't think the guy's good. Griffin, looking at you, Tim Tebow 2.0. Get out of here. Okay, I think he's kind of throwing that out the window. Yeah, he played 2 shit defense, but with the numbers he put up, that's impressive. It doesn't matter who you play. When you put up numbers like that 2 weeks in a row, you still got to give him some kind of credit. Okay, he's clicking well with Diggs. That duo is deadly. He's gonna have a real chance right here to completely silence his haters. If he can go out there and beat the Rams, there's really nothing anybody can say about it. I have Buffalo taking this, and I'm gonna tell you that the reason they're gonna take it is because their quarterback doesn't turn the ball over as much as the Rams quarterback, and their defense is better than the Rams, and that's gonna lead them to a victory here. Plus, they're in Buffalo, which their fans might not be in the game, but they're still throwing some people through tables in the parking lot. That's just they'll find a way to be known and be heard regardless. I got Buffalo in a game that should be a good game. I actually want to watch this, but too bad my Vikings are playing at once, so I'm going to be forced to watch that trash.
Buffalo Bills are a really good football team this year. They look like they've taken the step forward. Looks like Josh Allen looks great. I'm going with the Rams. My reasoning behind this is until Buffalo proves me wrong with this, I have to go with the other team. Buffalo is really good at beating up on inferior teams, but when it comes time to play teams that are of equal or better skill set of them, they tend to not win those football games. The Rams just put 37 points on me. I felt the pain. That was not good, but I think the Rams are still a good football team, even post-Gurley. Without Brandon Cooks there, that team is still capable of moving the football. I think that this is going to be Buffalo's first challenge on the year, and I just don't see the Rams not winning this football game. They're already on the East Coast. They're staying there this week, so they don't have to go across country. So you don't have that advantage over them anymore. And until Buffalo proves me wrong, they can't beat teams that are a good football team, and the Rams are a good football team.
All right. The football team versus the Browns.
Oh, okay, so the Browns looked like they were the worst football team in Week 1. The only team to just completely lay an egg across everything. But then Week 2 came along, and I know it was the Bengals, and the Bengals aren't a good football team, but the Browns looked deadly against the Bengals. I mean, their defense gave up 30 points, but it was garbage time.
Their defense looked good most of the game.
That running back tandem in Cleveland is nasty. Kareem Hunt could start for just about any team in the NFL, and he's the backup to Nick Chubb. I mean, granted, it's more like a 60-40 workload, but good luck stopping that team. Because they put them both out next to Baker quite a few times. Which one are you going to focus on? This one was very easy for me. The only thing Washington has going for them is their 7 first-round picks on the defense. I don't think they're going to be able to keep up with Cleveland. All Cleveland has to do is get a 2-touchdown lead, and they have a good enough defense to keep Washington from scoring 27 unanswered points and beating them in the fourth quarter. I have Cleveland wins this in convincing fashion.
Yeah, Cleveland looked like Cleveland should have been looking last week. Let me tell you something. The best thing that's ever happened to Baker was them signing Kareem Hunt.
Yeah.
Okay, because with them running like that, it opens up the passing lane. Like Baker finally looked comfortable throwing to OBJ last week for the first time since OBJ's been there. And I know he only caught 4 passes, but those 4 passes, they looked just
that beautiful touchdown pass.
That deep pass to Odell was just beautiful. And they really should have 2. The rest completely missed the pass interference on Odell.
Yeah.
on another one.
His
His
jersey
jersey
was like
stretched
10
out 10
foot.
yards, and they still didn't call it.
He was like
Uh,
showing it to him.
He's like, my jersey's not an extra large. Completely missed that. They should have had 2 touchdowns to each other because Odell had that guy burnt chicken,
Yeah.
and that's why he pulled his jersey. Okay, so that's they looked good. They just have too many offensive weapons for Washington to keep up. The Washington defensive line will have a good day against Cleveland's offensive line. They will keep it close for a while just because of the pressure, and they'll probably get to Baker. But Cleveland's going to pull away at the end to a point where they can't keep up.
Yeah.
So I expect this game at halftime to look like it's going to be a close game, and then just for Cleveland to kind of walk away in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that's what better football teams do, and I can already tell that Cleveland. I think they came out and just didn't really believe in themselves in Week 1 because of last season. I think now they finally got a little bit of that. Okay, so this is what we can do when we're gelling together, type thing. So now watch out, okay? Because Cleveland has. If all that talent clicks, there's not a lot of teams that can beat this team.
Yeah.
So we'll see going down the stretch. But if they click, watch out. That's all I'm saying. So I'm taking Cleveland. Tennessee at Minnesota. The moment of truth. Picking Tennessee. Can't even wear that stuff while I'm doing this. Okay, so Tennessee's 2-0. Minnesota's 0-2. And Tennessee's looked offensively good. And defensively, Minnesota's looked bad. So until I'm at the point where, I pick these picks and I try to not be biased. So I'm at the point right now where, unbiasedly, Minnesota's got to prove something to me. The talent level, Minnesota's far superior talent-wise to Tennessee.
Yeah.
Okay?
Don't let Stephen see that.
Their head coach is a better head coach as of right now. Vrabel's a good head coach. Don't get me wrong, it's not a diss. Zimmer's proven more, done more. So Minnesota should win this game on paper. If you just stuck everything next to each other on paper, you're like, okay, yeah, and you say Derrick Henry, right? Delvin Cook's just as good as Derrick Henry is, if not better. It's toe-to-toe. So even Tennessee's advantage over most teams, they don't really have on Minnesota. So it's a game they should win, but just I can't out of the faith of what's gone on so far this year, pick Minnesota. It'll be easier for Minnesota being at home. They look better against Green Bay than they did against the Colts, that's for sure. But until that defense can stop somebody, I can't. Danielle Hunter won't be here. He's got to be out minimum with 3 weeks. So Yannick's going to have to tear that line apart. The only good thing is that they run the football a lot, so hopefully not getting to the quarterback won't play as big of a factor, and those corners won't have to be overworked. So we'll have to see. Hopefully Dirty Harry can lay a couple hits on Derrick Henry. That would be a collision that everybody should just duck when that happens, because the world's going to blow up when they hit each other. So right. I'm going with Tennessee just because I have to be unbiased here. They've looked better. So until they prove me wrong, that's my pick.
Yeah, this one was hard to pick because I want to believe in the Minnesota Vikings team. On paper, that team should just be contending every week. But Tennessee is actually doing what they need to do. They're winning football games where Minnesota's not. And although I think that the Vikings, this is the game that they line up really well against Tennessee, because Tannehill's not the guy that's going to go torch you for 350 yards and expose your cornerbacks. I just don't know if the Vikings are going to be able to slow Derrick Henry down. Derrick Henry is a man-child. That's a man playing in football against boys out there. And Jacksonville did a pretty good job for a while at keeping him. I don't even think he had a great game. It was like 60 yards or something like that. But I had to.
Tannehill had a good game. That was a problem.
Yeah, I have to go Tennessee here. Just it's one of those you have to start proving it, Minnesota, because you can't live off the reputation of your great defense when your pieces have left, and you got to rebuild that legacy, and they haven't done it yet.
They have potential to do it, but
Yes.
haven't done it yet.
Exactly. We got Las Vegas versus New England. In Foxborough. So, you don't have Raiders Nation, you don't have this fancy new stadium to go open up.
That thing was sick.
Yeah, that torch is so cool. Raiders, your stadium's awesome. But, you only get to open it one time. And so you're only going to steal one win this season. I don't think that they're going to have a very good football game against the Patriots. Bill Belichick's really good at taking away your best player. Josh Jacobs is not going to have a good football game this game.
Is he their best player?
I would
Darren
say so.
Waller?
I think that Darren Waller won't do as well this game because the secondary in New England that's their strong part of their defense. And Josh Jacobs, I think, is a better player than Darren Waller is, even though Darren Waller just went complete insane George Kittle mode on the Saints. But Cam Newton is hard to stop. Seattle did it one time. That's the only team that's stopped him so far, and that was one play. I don't think the Raiders have the pieces on defense to make that same thing happen. New England's going to win this game.
Last week, I called the upset pick of the week, the Raiders over the Saints. I'm riding the hot train again. Upset pick of the week, Vegas over New England. And don't think that this is just the Raiders beat New Orleans last week, so I'm riding on it. Anyone who's known me all offseason, I've been high on the Raiders team. I've really been high on them since they hired Gruden. He went in there and traded away Khalil Mack. Everyone thought he was going to be terrible. He was destroying the Raiders. They were so good when he got there. And he's built this team in his image. They're super young. They're super athletic. The team's got playmakers, okay? This team is good. New England's good, too. I think this is going to be a really fun football game. If you can watch this game, I would watch it. Watch out for safety Abram. He's technically a rookie because he got hurt in his first game last year. He tore his, pec?
Yeah.
His first game last year.
Labrum.
Labrum, okay. So he was out for the season. They asked if he even considers himself a rookie yet, but he is fun to watch out there. He's a playmaker. He's all over the field. He's been all over the field the first 2 weeks. He even lit up Christian McCaffrey once in the Carolina Panther game, and that was pretty awesome. He'll cause some problems for the New England running backs because he likes to get back there in the backfield. He's not even going to stop Cam Newton. He's not going to do that. Okay, New England's gonna. It's gonna be a very close game. I think New England's gonna do their thing. I don't think you're gonna. I think the only team that's really got a good shot of shutting down Cam Newton is probably the Bills, just based on how their defense is built, and not Oakland. I think Oakland's got a decent defense. I don't think their defense is that bad. I think they're gave 30 points to Carolina. Well, Christian McCaffrey does that to some people.
And you have no idea what to expect facing
from Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah.
Right. So I'll draw that out. They still didn't look that bad against Carolina. They just gave up a couple big chunk plays where if they would have took those away, they would have been a complete blowout. But that's part of being young. So they'll fix that. But great coach versus great coach. It'll be a good game where the coaches are trying to out-scheme each other. Belichick, obviously the better coach, but I never count out Gruden. Gruden's got things up his sleeve. Derek Carr looks better this year. The only problem I have... He looks confident. The only problem I have is I think he's afraid to throw to his wide receivers. He solely focuses on his running backs and his tight ends right now. But he's very confident when going to him. He doesn't hesitate at all. Whips the ball right in there, and you weren't seeing that in past years. So that's a step forward. You want to see that kind of improvement in your QB, right? That's just the type of thing like Cam Newton did so far in the first 2 weeks, where Cam Newton hadn't looked like he does this year since his MVP year in 2015. So you got two QBs who are taking steps forward in their career and looking good. I think it should be a fun game. I'm taking Vegas just to ride the hot train here. This game could go either way. It's not like I'd be really shocked if New England won this game. So, yeah, don't bet on this game. Please just don't bet. Unless you're going to take the over. I think you can take the over on this game. I think they're going to score a lot of points. So, but don't bet on a winner in this game because Vegas could shock some people here. So, yeah. Next game, we got San Francisco and the Giants. So we got San Francisco third string squad versus the Giants starters. So I'm gonna go with San Francisco by 25. I'm sorry, New York, and I think this is gonna be the time Brent finally gives up on you because he's been riding that Giant train for the first 2 weeks here and been burnt twice. So I just don't think even San Francisco has so much depth that just they're still going to be a decent... I'm not saying they're a Super Bowl champion material right now, but they have enough depth that even without Jimmy G on the field, which, by the way, I don't think that's one of their strengths. I'm telling you that right now. I'm sorry, San Francisco fans, but Jimmy G is just there.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people could do what Jimmy G is doing in that offense. So the good thing is that Jerick McKinnon looked really good last week. He's going to need to perform well again because he's going to take all your carries with Mostert and Coleman being out this week. So your three-headed monster is down to just one. So we'll see how that goes. But no receivers, no running back potentially, no quarterback, and I still have you winning by 25. It's just like a talent level thing. Coaching, the Giants just... It's another one of those things where the Giants haven't done anything to prove it to me either. San Francisco still went out and blew out an NFL team. Loosely stated NFL team last week by 25 with nobody on the field. The Giants just don't have it. I was high on the Giants' talent level going into this season, but they can't. They lost Saquon out for the year. Sterling Shepard's made of glass. He's out. Evan Ingram's the only guy he's got. So we'll see. But I'm not. Danny Dimes isn't that comfortable. Danny Dimes I thought he was going to be this year. So no faith. San Francisco.
Yeah. I have San Francisco. You'll probably never hear me say the Giants to win another football game on this podcast. The Giants, on paper, I thought were going to take the step forward. That on paper, you got to crinkle that paper up and throw it out the window as soon as Saquon Barkley goes down. Yes, congratulations, you guys got Devonta Freeman. He's not Saquon Barkley,
or even in that league.
Just to put a little comparison, we're 3 weeks in the NFL season, and Devonta Freeman couldn't even be a backup on an NFL football team. So he's come out publicly and said, "I will join whatever team wants me." Nobody wanted him. Maybe there's a reason for that. The Giants burned me twice. I'm not picking them again. San Francisco wins this game by like 30 points. It's not it. They don't even need to bring a team out there. Practice squad only, and they're still going to be the Giants. Giants are bad.
Cincy at Philly.
Okay. I don't even think Bengals fans exist. So anyone...
Jack.
Yeah, he doesn't count. He's from Ohio. I don't think this is the week where Joe Burrow gets his first win. I'm going to be furious if it is the week he gets his first win. Cincinnati has a lot of problems on their offensive line. Their offensive line is basically as good as what the Eagles' linebackers are, for a comparison to what we talked about earlier. Where I talked about the Eagles having probably the worst defense I've seen since I became a fan. Their strength is by far their front four, and so their strength is going against Cincinnati's weakest part. Look for Joe Burrow to be throwing really fast or playing on his back this game. I don't see Cincinnati winning this football game just because the Eagles are a better football team than the Cincinnati Bengals are. On paper, the Eagles should win. Unbiasedly, I know that's my team, but on paper they should win. Eagles get the first win this week.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Eagles too. Burrow's looked pretty good. I have to say that, and I do think he's going to have a pretty good day against that Eagles defense. Like we've said already, the Eagles defense is not that good. I think this game will be a pretty good shootout, but I think Wentz is a good enough quarterback where he knows he can't lose to the Bengals after he's already lost to the football team.
Yeah.
So like he's going to be one of those games where Wentz puts the team on his back again, and just carries them because Wentz is just a veteran now in this game, and Burrow's a rookie, and it's good. I think it'll come down to a last possession type thing, and that's where Wentz having the ball in his hands, that's where he's going to thrive, where Joe Burrow's never been in the I have the ball in my hand to win the game situation too many times. I know, sorry, but the Chargers game probably very painful, but like that's only one time he hasn't had the ball in his hand to do that too many times. It's hard to do that in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be an ice cold quarterback to be able to do that, and not saying he's not, but it's just something that you can't do too many times when you haven't been in that position that many times. It's hard to adjust to get to that level. So I think I don't want to live with Brent if the Bengals win this game because he already said he wasn't watching football again the rest of the year when they lost this week. So I don't even I don't even want to be here if they lose. So for my sanity and the sake of my entire household here, can we just beat the Bengals, please? Thanks. All right, next game, Houston at Pittsburgh. I have zero reason to believe Houston's going to win this game. Deshaun Watson is going to be running for his life against this Pittsburgh defense. in this game in Pittsburgh. And right now, T.J. Watt is the Defensive Player of the Year lead in Canada through 2 weeks. So, he's going to be chasing him down all over. Like, J.J. Watt doesn't even exist anymore. It's T.J. Watt now. Okay? Like, forget J.J. ever existed. And they're playing each other, so that'll be kind of fun. I don't know if they played each other before.
I don't think they have. I think that the teams have played against each other, but J.J. Watt is literally made of glass.
So on that note, I think J.J. Watt will have his first good game of the season just because he's playing his brother and they want to one-up each other type thing. But I just think that Pittsburgh's defense is too much. And with Watson not having a lot of weapons on the team, that's going to hurt them, where Big Ben has not really great elite talent out there, but he's got guys that are good enough to get the job done against a team that's defense is just not that good. So they're giving up like 30-some points a game right now, their defense is. So not a good look. Pittsburgh right now's defense looks like it's like one of the best defenses in the league. So they're not going to score enough points, I don't think. And if they do score points, it's going to be the famous Houston garbage time points when they're already down. It's hard to beat Pittsburgh at home. They look rejuvenated this year. They have a little bit of offensive, some problems to still fix on offense, but their defense is elite.
All right, so you're not the only one that's allowed to make some bold picks for this week.
No.
I am not a Steelers believer this season. They did not look good against Denver. They did not look good against New York. They stopped Saquon, but those scores of those games, they're not as convincing wins as you would hope for a team that was facing a Drew Lockless Broncos and a Giants team. Where, like we talked about Wentz earlier, where sometimes you just need to put the team on your back. Watson knows the pressure's on. The division is still in reach this early on. They have talent on that team. Deshaun Watson, you're going to see him play his best football. Like I said earlier, Deshaun Watson just had to play against Mahomes and Lamar Jackson in Week 1 and 2. It's hard to beat those guys any point during the season, but let alone back-to-back. It's not a great look, but they're not facing a star quarterback anymore. Big Ben used to be a star, but Big Ben talks about now after football games it feels like he got hit by a bus. So he doesn't have it anymore. He's doing just enough to win these games against football teams that are rather missing their starting quarterback or just aren't realistic football teams anyway. So Houston, I think, is going to win this football game, and I don't even think it's really going to be that close of a game. I think Houston's going to win it by double digits.
I want to go on record that I think Denver would have beat Pittsburgh if Drew Lock was there.
Yes.
Because Drew Lock's a lot better than Jeff Driscoll. I just want to say that.
So this is going to be the quickest one out of all of them. The Jets are facing the Colts. I don't have anything to say. Colts are going to win this football game.
I have the Colts too, but I am still nervous because the Colts shouldn't have lost to Jacksonville either. So the Colts are one of those teams. So,
yeah,
but on paper, the Colts should blow this game. This should be a complete blowout. I just don't want a Jets Dallas game or an Indy Jacksonville game to repeat to happen in this game. But yeah, I'm taking Indy. I don't have a lot of explanation here. They're a better football team from top to bottom. Especially in the coaching department.
Yeah.
Every team's a better coaching team than the Jets. So, yeah, Colts. Carolina at the Chargers. This game was hard for me to pick, but I'm going to take the Chargers because of no CMC. Okay, that's a big loss for Carolina. Teddy's looked good, but without Christian McCaffrey, they're going to rely on Teddy. Okay, Teddy has never had to put a team on his back. Okay, in Minnesota, he never had to do it. In New Orleans, he didn't have to do it. He's gonna have to now. Okay, and just because that's the unknown, can he do that? Like, I can't trust him. And Herbert looked really good last week. I feel really bad for Tyrod, and I think he should sue the team doctor that punctured his lung because that's pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
But when one door closes, another door opens. And now Herbert's he's had his chance, and he almost beat the Chiefs last week. I do want to put that as more of a, you didn't expect Herbert to be playing and you expected Tyrod Taylor to be playing, which changes things dramatically for a team who's prepared for a different guy the entire week. So I don't think they're as good as Kansas City. So let's throw that out the window. But I think without Christian McCaffrey, they're going to do enough to beat Carolina. Carolina's got some playmakers. Robbie Anderson's looked good. DJ Moore gets the job done. He's not living up to his DJ Moore potential that the critics wanted him to live, but he's solid. He does his job. He's good for 4 catches, 70 yards. So, we'll see how they do without CMC, but I don't have any faith in him, and that's what this game came. I really do think I would have picked Carolina if Christian McCaffrey was here, just because they looked pretty good. I know they lost by 14 to Tampa, but that game was a lot closer. Tampa did not put that last score until they intercepted Bridgewater at the end of the game. So it was a 7-point game for most of that, so they looked pretty good. But without Christian McCaffrey, it changes everything. So, and no faith in Carolina without that. Chargers for me.
Yeah, I have Chargers. Herbert looks good. I mean, a lot of that is most likely the Chiefs were planning for Tyrod Taylor. Herbert didn't find out until 10 minutes before the game that he was going to be starting that football game. Anybody knew that. That was just a complete...
QB can't breathe, bro. You got to play.
Yeah, and he went out there, and he wasn't perfect, but it reminded me a lot of when... It's crazy because it reminds me when Tyrod Taylor was in Cleveland, and the Browns were a very stagnant offense, just like they were against... when he's the Chargers, and how they were against the Bengals. But then Baker Mayfield and now Herbert come in, and it relights the spark. The team is excited to play again. You saw a really electric Chargers team, no pun intended. I have the Chargers winning this football game. Without Christian McCaffrey, I don't see the Panthers being very competitive. Teddy's going to try his best, but I don't think it's going to be enough because they're just going to be able to dial back on the pass and not have to worry about the run very much. Chargers win this football game.
Okay, Tampa at Denver.
Oh, okay. This one's really easy, too. Drew Lock's out.
Sutton, too.
Yeah, and Sutton's season's over. So, you have the greatest quarterback in NFL history with some great star-studded cast going on to Mile High, where he can where that's going to help him throw the football a little bit better, because, Tom doesn't quite have the arm anymore.
He doesn't.
No.
Not quite. He doesn't have the arm anymore.
I was giving him a little benefit of the doubt. He still throws a couple 30-yard passes here and there. But Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to win this football game very, very convincingly.
It would have been a fun game to see if Sutton and Drew Lock were here.
That would have been great.
I think this would have been a great competitive matchup. I still think Tampa would have won, but I think it would have been a fun little game we could have had. But now, Jeff Driscoll isn't beating Tom Brady, washed up or not. So, I obviously just kind of gave away my pick, so I don't think anybody was really in doubt of who I was picking here. I seen your DM, Rosie. I'm in the middle of a podcast. I'll get back to you when we're done. Promise. Tampa should win this game at Denver. Usually that really plays to Denver's advantage because of the altitude there, and it really helps them. And I really do think it would have been a really good game with Sutton and Locke, and especially Von Miller there too still. Denver is going to be a good team next year.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to say that now. Next year they're going to be good. They should have been good this year, but shit happens. And sometimes it stunts teams' growth a little bit, but they'll be all right. So just don't sell your stock in Denver for the future because they're going to be good, but just not. Things just didn't fall in place. Tampa should run away with this. It's not even going to be close. I got Tampa winning this game by 20-some points. Sorry, Denver. I feel bad for you. I really thought you guys were back, but next year you got it. So. Until now, enjoy the nice, good draft pick again and keep adding to that talent.
Get defense this time. Your offense should be set for a
while. Offense is good. Draft defense. Keep them. Von's getting older. So, all right. Detroit at Arizona. I got Arizona here. Detroit never wins in the desert. Okay, they just don't. For some reason they can. It doesn't matter how good or bad Arizona is or how good or bad Detroit is. They cannot win in Arizona. They can't go back in the history books. Tell me the last time the Lions won in Arizona. Because it's been a long time. There's been plenty of times that they were the better team than Arizona and still went in there and got beat. Okay, they just don't win there. I know no fans, but I don't really think fans are a big advantage for Arizona anyway. They're not anywhere near the loudest stadium in the league.
No.
Like, so I don't really think that's much of a disadvantage because they got fake crowd noise. So, like, I mean, it's going to be about as loud as the Cardinal Stadium is anyway. So they'll hang around. Detroit, Galladay's back. Detroit's offense is going to be good. They're going to score some points. But the problem is that Detroit's defense is not going to stop Kyler Murray, so you can score as many points as you want to. If Arizona's scoring every time after you, the first time Detroit has to punt, the game's over.
Yeah.
I'm telling you that right now. I will not be shocked if Arizona does not punt in this game at all. They might have to kick a field goal here and there because Detroit's defense might finally make a stop when they're already deep in their territory, but they're not going to punt in this game. That's my bold prediction for this week. Arizona does not punt in this football game. Okay, and if they do, it's because it's the fourth quarter late in the game and they're up and they're closing it out and they just ran the ball and punted. Like that's it. But they will not punt at least in the first 3 quarters of this game. Both offenses will be good, it'll be high scoring, but they're just not going to win. They're not going to. Defense not good enough. Sorry, Lions fans. Not happening.
Yeah, I have Arizona. They're looking like the real deal. I wasn't hyped on them at the start of the season. I thought, okay, this team won 5 games last season. Does the addition of D-Hop really make the team that much better? I think he's answered that question since he's been on that team.
And the maturity of Kyler.
Yeah, so this is a bold statement I'm going to make. I think that, I know it's only week 2, but if the season ended today, I think Kyler Murray could win MVP.
Over Josh Allen?
Yes, over Josh
or
Allen.
Russ.
And over Russ. Kyler Murray looks so much like Lamar Jackson right now.
Oh my God. Holy shit. Here we go.
Look at his stats. He had 2 rushing touchdowns.
No, I know. I hear it, but that's some bullshit.
Kyler Murray took a step early. And he looks really good. He looks dangerous.
He does. He looks good.
I know that the NFL season's not only 2 weeks long. A lot of things can happen from now, and Russ deserves an MVP. So they're probably going to end up giving it to Russ as long as he doesn't get hurt this year.
He's got 3 more touchdown passes than anybody else.
Yeah, but Arizona is the better football team over Detroit. No. Kenny Galladay is going to be huge for Detroit's offense. Look for a Detroit's offense that's going to have that spark of life again. But one thing Detroit can't do in this football game is not give Adrian Peterson the football.
Yeah, that was stupid. Even against the Packers, they were in like 6 yards of carry.
Look to week 1 where they were giving Adrian Peterson the ball against the Chicago Bears defense, and he was grinding those yards out. He looked like he was 28 again. And then week 2, after he was your leading rusher, he had over 100 yards of total offense in week 1. He takes a backseat to Kerryon Johnson. Don't understand that. I don't know if he just wasn't feeling it. Maybe they were trying to spare him some reps.
I think they're just trying to keep a rotational thing, but you got to keep it like even.
But at some point, you got to realize that the team was moving better with Adrian Peterson, and they gave up on that early. And then Adrian Peterson was running the ball in like the 4th quarter, but you're already down 20 points. Give the ball to Adrian Peterson, Detroit, if you want to have some kind of chance to stay competitive in this football game.
He still got it.
He doesn't look like a 35-year-old running back.
He's a little slower, but he's still got those cut moves, and
Yeah.
he's still got the power. I'm telling you, he's making people miss in those holes.
Arizona's going to win this football game. Or
here we go.
They could tie it like they did last year.
Oh, God. That's actually a win for Detroit. Actually, this time they'd probably be pretty happy with a tie.
Right.
Here the next 3 games. Oh, Lord, these are going to be some good games.
Dallas at Seattle. Okay. So, just like we said earlier with the Vikings, how you have to prove it at this point, you got to prove that you can stop Russell Wilson, because nobody has seemed to have done it yet. He's killing it.
He's on pace for 72 touchdowns.
Yeah, Russell
You
Wilson.
put that one in your...
Russell Wilson, oh my God, he's the 2nd best quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, right now, he might be the best.
Yeah, it's just, with his resume, I could argue that he's the best quarterback in the league, but it's hard to argue with the Mahomes argument, which we'll get to that later. But Dallas, congratulations, you had a immaculate comeback. That I wrote that game off. I even posted on Facebook. I was like, hey, The good thing about the Eagles losing is at least the Cowboys are losing.
Did you delete that?
I deleted that very quick. It did not age well.
You were like, I'm leaving this out.
I had it up there for like 5 minutes. I looked at the time on that game, and there was like less than 2 minutes left. They were down by 9. I said, there's no way. Well, that was before I realized the Falcons don't know how special teams work.
Yeah, you don't have to let the ball go 10 yards if you're on the receiving team.
Yes. As for Dallas this week, I know that you guys are going to take everything I say with a grain of salt because I'm an Eagles fan, but I try to do this as unbiasedly as I can. You will not have the same opportunity to come back against Seahawks as you did with the Falcons. That's got a good defense. If Dak turns the ball over, the game's over. Dallas is one of those teams that can come out and play lights out football, but I don't think they're going to be good enough to beat the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle. I know you don't have the fans, but you're still going halfway across country. It's not easy to do the commute. Seattle's going to win this football game.
Yeah, I'm going to take Seattle too. I do, however, think this will be a very good football team or game. I think Dallas is just another team that is sort of like the Lions we talked about earlier, kind of play to their team's talent level. That's what they do. They should have blown out Atlanta. But they didn't. As a matter of fact, they were getting blown out for the entire game. Atlanta scored 20-some points in the first quarter.
Yeah.
Dallas fumbled 4 times and lost 3 of them in the first quarter. If you do that against Seattle, the game's over. Okay, yeah. I'm telling you that now. This is not Atlanta. This is Seattle. This right now, through 2 weeks, is the best team in football. Seattle's the team to beat in the NFC right now. Not San Francisco, not New Orleans. Through 2 weeks, I know that, like you said before.
No, those aren't even the teams that I would have as the best team in the NFC right now. But
through 2 weeks, in my opinion, nobody's looked as good as Seattle. I think Green Bay comes close, but because Seattle just with Pete Carroll and they've kind of had that repertoire between them, they get the edge for me. Also beating New England and Bill Belichick kind of puts that up there. Russell Wilson's 3-0 against Bill Belichick in the regular season. Name another quarterback that can say that. Come on, nobody's had success like that. Even Eli Manning didn't have success like that, and that was his Achilles heel, right? So, I think Seattle's just too good, too well coached. I think Mike McCarthy's a step forward from Jason Garrett, but he's not Pete Carroll. Russell Wilson's better than Dak. Russell Wilson's not going to turn the ball over 3 times in the first quarter.
He won't even do it 3 times.
Russell Wilson threw a pick last week. It wasn't even his fault. That's the only time you get turnovers from the guy is when it bounces off his receiver's hands.
Yeah.
That pick 6 was literally right off Greg Olson's hands last week. So, that's the only way he even turns the ball over. I know he said he thinks Kyler would be the MVP right now through 2 weeks. I think it's Russ. Russ has, through 2 weeks, 3 more touchdown passes in second place. Sometimes people who lead the league in the season don't have 3 more TD passes than the guy in second place. And already 2 weeks in, he's already got more. There's QBs in the league, Kirk Cousins, that don't have 3 touchdown passes on the season.
Carson Wentz.
Right. Carson Wentz does have 3. He's got 3.
He's got 2.
No, he's got 3. 3 TDs, 4 picks. I just looked at stats today.
2 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown.
Oh, okay. 3 touchdowns total, but I knew it's 3. But, yeah, so there are quarterbacks in the league that don't even have 3 through 2 weeks, and he's got 3 more than second place. So until Dallas shows me that they can beat good teams, and Seattle shows me they can lose, I got to take Seattle here. And it's just the smart play, the smart bet, and I'm going to put it on my bet sheet this week. That's how confident I am in it. I do think it will be competitive, though. I think Dallas is just a team that will play to the talent level. So they'll keep it close, but Dallas don't win close games. They're 1-7. And, well, now 2-7. They're 2-7 now, technically, because of last week, but they shouldn't even be recorded. So 2-7 in games decided by 1 possession. That's not good. That's not good. And they were an onside kick away from being 1-8 in those games. So, Seattle. And then the next game, we got the Sunday night game next week. Man, these last 3 games are so good.
Oh, yes.
Green Bay and New Orleans. Green Bay's looked unstoppable through 2 weeks, right? Like this is where, but they're finally facing a team that doesn't look like they've taken a step back. I know New Orleans lost, but we went over the fact that teams, when they open buildings, get a spark. Fans are not. I'm going to chalk that. I do believe the Raiders are a great team, but I'm going to chalk up the fact that they got a lot of energy from opening up in Vegas and being in a new atmosphere, and they just came out ready to play, knowing the world didn't think they stood a chance against the Saints, right? So I just feel like they kind of fed off that. I think the Saints are a better team than the Raiders. And I don't think New Orleans doesn't lose back-to-back games very often. So they're going to come out knowing they can't fall behind. They know that Tom Brady's in their division. They know that they got to keep up. And they know they have a victory over Tampa right now. So the best part to do is just keep pace and start winning games, because you don't want Tampa to pull ahead. And they know that Tampa's got an easy win. I mean, teams know that stuff. They got a Drew Lockless Denver. They're going to play ahead of time. They're going to see Tampa win. They're going to know we got to win this game. And New Orleans defense is much better than the defenses that they've played so far. Okay, especially red zone defense. They're pretty good. Especially outside the red zone defense, they're much better than a lot of teams are. But the problem is if Rodgers gets to the red zone, he's going to score. That's where New Orleans lacks. So, but they won't get those big plays to the receivers that Rodgers has been getting this year against the lackluster defenses like Minnesota and Detroit. The good thing for New Orleans is they're struggling covering the tight end, as we've seen Monday night. Green Bay does not utilize their tight ends. Nope. That's a fact. That's been a fact since Bubba Franks left Green Bay when Brett Favre was there. They have not utilized tight ends since then. And so the weakness in New Orleans defense is kind of gone. Drew Brees, you just can't count him out. And this is kind of I would have picked the home team no matter who is here. New Orleans is at home, so I'm going to take New Orleans in a very close game. It could go either way. Do not touch this on a bet sheet. Do not touch the over or under on a bet sheet on this game either. I'm telling you, just don't touch this game on your bet sheet. New Orleans, but wouldn't be surprised if Green Bay wins. Green Bay looks good. Rodgers looks good.
All right, so Drew Brees doesn't lose on Sunday Night Football. Aaron Rodgers doesn't lose on Sunday Night Football. Somebody's got to lose this football game. They're not going to tie. But to me, the better team so far this season is Green Bay.
Can't argue that.
You can argue that New Orleans has had to play tougher competition, and that's a fair argument. But the Packers are averaging over 40 points a game. I know Devonta Adams is limited in practice right now. He got tweaked up in the Lions game. He might not play, but I think he's going to
play.
I think he's going to go out there and play. And I gotta give the edge to Green Bay. Green Bay looks really good this year. Not saying New Orleans doesn't, but I think Green Bay is the better football team right now. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to have a better game than Drew Brees will. And that's going to be what it's going to come down to. Green Bay goes out to a 3-0 lead in the NFC North. It's a tough one, though. Don't bet on it.
Yeah,
Do not bet on it.
You just can't bet against Drew Brees. So, or Aaron Rodgers, so just don't. Yeah.
And then the marquee matchup. You thought that the last one was the best game of the week.
Just keep getting better as we keep announcing them.
Monday Night Football, you have Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens.
Big trust.
Hosting the Super Bowl MVP, Patrick Lamar's daddy Mahomes, in which is going to be the highest scoring game of the NFL season, I think. This is going to be Rams versus Chiefs from 2 years ago. It's going to be great. You do not want to miss it. If you have to work, call in sick. If you have to work the next day, call in sick. You're going to want to watch this football game. This game is going to be sweet.
Yeah.
However, like I said in his nickname, Patrick Mahomes is Lamar Jackson's daddy. And the Chiefs are going to win this football game in Baltimore. It's going to be the battle of the two most exciting football players in football going against each other.
Kirk Cousins isn't playing.
This game is going to be great. I don't know if I would even touch it betting
No,
unless you're a fan.
Bet over. Yeah, you can touch it betting.
I wouldn't even touch the over because the over is going to be so damn high in
That's
this game.
true, depending on the over. But
if this over is anything under than 53 points, bet the over. And that's saying a lot because 53 is pretty high for overs. But I know that Baltimore has looked phenomenal in their first two games, and Kansas City kind of struggled in week 2 and needed overtime to beat a rookie quarterback. But you can never count out Patrick Mahomes. Look at last season in the playoffs. He was down in every single one of those games, and he put that team on his back. I think Mahomes is more capable of putting his team on his back than Lamar Jackson is. And that's not a knock on Lamar, but I just think Mahomes is the overall better quarterback. Chiefs win this one in a nail-biter. I'm talking last-second field goal to win the game, or that goes into overtime, and Patrick wins it. Just putting it right on his back and leading his team to victory.
yeah. So I'm gonna go out and say it. Baltimore's looked like the better team so far this year through 2 weeks. They have. They beat Houston just as well as Kansas City beat Houston. But they dominated Cleveland, a division rival. While Kansas City went against a very inferior division rival and a rookie quarterback, and they struggled. But Kansas City's going to win this game. I think Patrick Mahomes is the furthest down you can put him, number 2 quarterback in the league. That's the furthest down you can put him. Like that's it. And I think he's the best, okay? But I would respect anybody who put Russ ahead of him.
You can't argue it, really.
Because just Russ he just does amazing things, right? And he's had far less talent than Mahomes has had. But either way, he's better than Lamar Jackson, and it's not a knock on Lamar Jackson, okay? Lamar Jackson's great. But here's where my problem is. This is a playoff atmosphere game, right? Where does Lamar Jackson struggle?
Playoffs.
In the playoffs, okay? I'm not saying he's going to struggle like he struggled in the playoffs, but I'm going to say that one of these guys have experience winning in those type of situations and the other one doesn't. And that plays a key factor in games like this. Mahomes knows that they struggled last week. Mahomes struggled last week. He was like 6-19 starting that game, and I was like, holy crap, that's like the first chink in the armor of Mahomes I've ever seen since his first start in Denver, his rookie year, where he didn't look good at all. But that was his first start, right? So since his first start, this is the first time I've seen him struggle. I know, guys. I'll talk to you in a minute. Well, he's not going to struggle 2 weeks in a row. He's not. This is the type of player that just don't do that. That's why when I told you about New Orleans just a second ago about Drew Brees losing twice in a row, teams like this, like New Orleans, like Kansas City, they don't go out and struggle 2 weeks in a row. They just don't do that. This is what makes them winning their organization so good and why they're consistently good every year. Even before Mahomes got there with Alex Smith, Andy Reid wasn't losing back-to-back games. Like he doesn't. And I know he didn't lose, but they didn't struggle in back-to-back games ever. Right? It was okay. Alex Smith got rocked. He didn't play good. The next week we just beat our team by 30 points. Like that's how it's been even before Mahomes. But now you have a way better quarterback than Alex Smith. It's not going to change. This will be a really fun game. I wouldn't be like blown away if the Baltimore Ravens won the game because, like I said, they look like the better team. But when it just comes down to the better quarterback in this game, because I can't even say I think the Baltimore Ravens are even better coached, and that's not a knock on Andy Reid. I just think John Harbaugh is really good. But it's just a thing like they're too even to pick there. I think it's just literally Mahomes versus Jackson is what it comes down to, and that's you got to pick Mahomes just because he's done it. Mm-hmm. He's done it. He's been there. He went to a place where Lamar Jackson wasn't able to get to. Right? He's been there, won it. They started the same amount of time. And Mahomes has carried his team to places Jackson hasn't yet. This could be the season Jackson takes that step, but it's just the who's done it, who hasn't done it. And again, Kansas City struggling 2 weeks in a row would be hard for me to see that. So please don't bet on this game. Don't be a fool. Like, just don't be a fool and be like, oh, I know Patrick Mahomes is gonna beat. Like, don't, because then you'll lose. That's just how these things work. So this should be a fun game. I agree with Brent. This could be the highest scoring game of the year. It's definitely going to be one of the funnest games of the year, even if it's not the highest scoring, because these two teams are going to keep you on the edge of your seat. This game could be 13-13 going to the end of the game, and you're still going to be on the edge of your seat because you know one of these quarterbacks are going to make a play.
Yeah.
Right? So it's going to happen. So we'll see how it goes, but I'm going to take Kansas City in, again, just like he said, a nail biter. But all I got to say is that Baltimore, if you have the ball in your hands at the end of the game, take the clock down. Do not leave Patrick Mahomes anytime, because he's more likely to go down the field in a quick drive than Lamar Jackson is. Okay, so he's the one you got to worry about at the end of the game. If it comes down to a last second type thing, you need to take the clock down as far as you can. I know you don't not score if you have the chance, because that bites you in the ass, but just try to if you can.
Yeah.
Take as much time as you can off there, because Mahomes literally needs like 20 seconds. So make them use their timeouts. Use as much time as you can. Don't be over-aggressive. That's my only advice for the Ravens in this game, because you can't give him any time. He just proved that against the Chargers. So, again, like he has many times. So that's all we got today. Right now, me and Brent are both 21-11 in our picks so far. We could have did better in week 1, but we both did pretty solid in week 2. So I went 13-3, went 11-5 in week 2. So thank you guys for joining us, and thank you for the support you've shown us all year. We'll be back to see you.